Hello. This chapter was called Her Glory, and it was mostly about hair. Um, in this chapter, we see Emily Bernard mostly taking care of her two kids' hairs and the history of her own hair and her mother's hair and her grandmother's hair. And at first, we see Isabella wanted the longer hair, the longer braids, and all that. Um, while Giola, Julia, I think it's Julia. Yes, Julia wanted short hair, and there's a part in the book where the grandfather is talking about how Julia needs to have longer hair because she's a woman, and she shouldn't be looking like a boy. And Julia didn't want longer hair because she had seen Isabella um, with getting her braids, calling them hurt braids, and about how much she did not want to be in pain. However, the mother, Emily Bernard, valued both of their hairstyles. She valued Isabella's because it gave them a chance to connect. It was something they got to do together, doing it herself. And she valued Gia's style of hair because it was her own way of doing things. It was strong and independent, much like Julia herself. Um, I think this is all to, if we're trying to interpret the story, we're going back to the idea of the body being a work of storytelling and a frame of storytelling. Within three hairstyles, Emily Bernard's, Julia's, and Isabella's, we get the three very common black stories. With Isabella's, we get the traditional braids, box braids, tied up, you get it. Um, that story framework is your typical black woman style hair. With Julia, we get the less common short hair. A lot of black women like their hair short and bald. Some consider it a power statement. Some just hate the long process it takes to having it. And then lastly, we go to Dr. Bernard's style of hair, which she has gone to prefer the more natural look of long, luscious curls. And when we talk about Emily Bernard's hair in general, she also uses as another frame of storytelling for when her mom died. Because when her mom died, she cut off all her hair, and she didn't really think about or care about it until someone else told her she looked like her father, and she took a good amount of pride in that. I do feel like this was effective storytelling for what it was. I really did like this chapter. As someone who is all about black hair excellence, I related to it a lot. The part in the chapter where she talks about how she went to the salon and her hair was a mess and she could see all the other black women judging her. That I related to very heavily, and that has happened many a times with many a black women in my family and myself. Uh, this chapter I probably related to the most because my hair, in all of its long, luscious glory, is honestly my glory, and it is my connection to my black culture. It's a big reason I've kept it long and curly is because it's my black identity. Emily Bernard struggles with the concept of identity within the book itself, and here we see the biggest hint of identity coming from hair itself. Overall, we talk about the body as just a whole, and now we're talking about a specific part of the body, hair as the glorious part, and she's picking a particular frame here to really dissect and analyze the idea of black culture. Without deliberately discussing black culture, she is diving into the many nuanced issues of black culture when it comes to hair care. I mean, the hair salon having their own hair care products that don't always work. That's why the bottles were half empty, and in the drain for or in the bottom of the cabinet for a while because they didn't use them all because you don't need that many products in your hair. Um, but the salon gonna sell it to you either way. The judgment for not knowing how to do black hair. Black hair is complex. Even the part where there's all these YouTube videos. Black hair is black profit, and that is something we often see in the black community. And Emily Bernard, whether purposely or not purposely, is hitting a lot of the marks within capitalism in the black hair community, where it feels less about uplifting and more about cashing in on the idea of black excellence. And overall, I really like the chapter name, Her Glory. I really like it because it talks about hair being something that connects a lot of black people to their culture, but more importantly to themselves. Um, Going outside the chapter, connecting it to something real world, for me at least, my black hair has always connected me to my grandfather because my grandfather had a black afro too, and he had it, and I remember it was gray, and I used to tell him all the time, I can't wait to be old and gray like you, Grandpa, you know, with gray facial hair and all. Um, so I think the idea of hair being someone else's glory in of itself is a glorious concept. But that's all I had to say. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.